Imagine waking up to a world frozen white. Overnight, a blizzard has silenced the English countryside, burying the lanes and fields of Devon under a pristine, unbroken blanket of snow. It is the morning of February 8th, 1855. You pull back the curtain, your breath fogging the cold glass, and you look out upon a transformed landscape. It is beautiful, yes, but this morning it is also wrong. For carved into that perfect white sheet, tracing a path through your garden, over the high stone wall you know a man cannot climb, and continuing as far as your eye can see, is a single, continuous line of footprints, and they are not human. They are the prints of a cloven hoof. The day begins, as all days did, with the ringing of the bell from the parish church in Topsham. But this is no ordinary morning. The frost hangs thick in the air, and a profound chill, one that has little to do with the temperature, has settled over the village. The first to see them were the milkmaids, their buckets clattering on the icy cobbles, their breath coming in sharp gasps. Then the farmers, heading out to check on their livestock. The vicar opening his door to a new day. One by one, they all stopped. And they stared. The prints were not like any they had ever seen. Each was pressed deep into the snow, as if made by a creature of considerable weight. They were clearly cloven, a single line of hoof marks, each print about 4 inches long, set in a perfect, straight line, one in front of the other, as if the thing that made them walked on 2 legs. The stride was a consistent 8 inches, unnervingly consistent, and they were everywhere. They began at the very edge of the water, in the Exe estuary, as if the maker had simply climbed out of the sea. They marched up the beach, through the quiet streets of the little villages like Exmouth and Limpstone. They did not detour. They went straight up to a 6-foot-high wall, and the prints were found on both sides, as if the wall were not even there. They continued unimpeded over the rooftops of houses, their thatch and slate bearing the same strange marks. They traversed vast open fields, and then narrowed, impossibly, to traverse the top of a narrow haystack without a single misstep. They crossed the 2-mile-wide estuary of the River Exe itself, the prints appearing on both banks, with no bridge for miles. The news spread, a contagion of fear moving faster than any horse or telegraph. In the market square of Topsham, a crowd gathered, their voices a low, anxious hum. But when they spoke,
"The devil," a woman whispered, clutching her shawl tight. "He walked among us last night." A farmer, a man of hard, practical sense named Mr. Elias Prouse, shook his head, his face pale. "I saw them go right up to a drain pipe, no bigger than a man's fist. The mark was on the pipe itself. How? In God's name, how?" The local constable, trying to maintain order, took statements that sounded like ravings. 100 people, 200, all swearing to the same impossible trail. It stretched from the coast, up the Exe Valley, through the villages of Dawlish and Tynemouth, and didn't stop until it reached the town of Totnes, a staggering, incomprehensible distance of over 100 miles, all in one night. The Reverend H.T. Ellicombe of Clyce St. George was a man of God, a scholar. He did not believe in superstition. That morning, he took his measuring stick and his notebook into his garden, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The prints went right through his vicarage garden. He measured them, precisely 8 inches apart. He followed them to a locked gate, its top dusted with snow. The prince approached the gate and continued on the other side. The snow on the gate itself was undisturbed. he felt a cold dread that had nothing to do with the winter air. This was a challenge not to his person, but to his entire understanding of the world. Panic began to ferment. In the village of Powderham, people refused to leave their homes. They barred their doors and windows, placing crucifixes in the sills. The local gamekeepers, men who knew every track and spoor in the county, were baffled. They gathered with their dogs, tough, seasoned animals used to hunting fox and badger. They set them on the trail. The dogs followed the scent eagerly at first, their tails high, but then they would stop. They would whimper, lower their heads, and refuse to go further, their instincts shattered by something they could not comprehend.
Theories, born of desperation, began to circulate. Perhaps it was a kangaroo, escaped from a private menagerie? But the prints were all wrong. And what kangaroo could walk a straight line for 100 miles, over walls and roofs? A badger? The prints were too large, the stride too long. A hot air balloon, someone suggested, with a devilish hoaxer dangling a hoof on a rope. The sheer, meticulous scale of it made the idea laughable. But one theory took root in the fertile soil of rural fear. This was the devil's work. In the superstitious heart of 19th century England, especially in the remote countryside, the boundary between the natural and the supernatural was thin. The landscape was still old. It was dotted with stone circles and haunted barrows. The people still told stories of pixies, of wisps, of black dogs with eyes of fire that were omens of death. This event, the Devil's Footprints, as the newspapers were already calling them, fit perfectly into that dark folklore. It was a nocturnal visitation, a reminder that the old powers still walked the land, and that the world was far stranger and more terrifying than the age of industry and steam would have them believe. The story exploded in the press. The Times of London sent correspondence. The local papers, the Illustrated London News, printed detailed sketches of the footprints. The entire nation was gripped. In London drawing rooms, it was a curious topic of conversation, but in the public houses of Devon, it was a living, breathing terror. One evening, in the smoky, low-ceilinged confines of the Ship Inn in Topsham, a group of men huddled around the fire. My father, an old fisherman named Josiah croaked, sipping his ale, told a story his father told him of a night in the winter of 1817 when a similar thing happened. Cloven prints on the shore. They said it was a warning, a sign of a hard year to come. And that year, the fever took half the village.
A young laborer, his hands still raw from the cold, leaned in. "What do we do then? If it's a warning, what is it warning us of?" No one had an answer. Meanwhile, the scientific minds of the day were scrambling for a rational explanation. The great naturalist Sir Richard Owen, the man who coined the word dinosaur, weighed in. He declared with immense authority that the prints were likely made by a badger. The suggestion was met with derision in Devon. The villagers knew a badger's track. It did not walk in a perfect straight line. It did not have a stride of 8 inches, and it most certainly could not walk over a 2-mile-wide river. Other naturalists suggested it was a hare, its bounding gait distorted by melting and refreezing, or an otter loping through the snow. But none of these explanations could account for the sheer, unerring geometry of the trail, its ability to pass over impossible obstacles, and its breathtaking length. The debate raged in the letters pages of the newspapers, a battle between the old world of folklore and the new world of science, with the frozen fields of Devon as their battleground. As days turned into weeks, the snow finally melted, and with it, the physical evidence of the footprints vanished, but the memory did not. The event etched itself into the very soul of the county. It became a local legend, a story told to wide-eyed children, a tale to share on a dark night. But for those who had seen it, the Reverend Ellicombe, the farmer pros, the milkmaids, life was forever divided into 2 parts, the time before the footprints and the time after.
They had looked upon a mystery that defied every law they knew, natural and divine. They had seen the mark of something that moved through their world as if the solid things, The walls, the roofs, the rivers were mere illusions. It left them with a profound and unsettling truth that the night is not empty, it is full of footsteps. And sometimes, whatever makes them decides to leave a trace. The devil's footprints of Devon were never explained. No hoaxer ever came forward. No satisfactory animal culprit was ever proven. The event remains one of history's most enduring and bizarre meteorological mysteries. A single strange night where the map of the rational world was redrawn by a cloven hoof. It is a permanent stain on the official record, a ghost in the machine of Victorian certainty. So the next time you find yourself looking out on a fresh fall of snow on a quiet moonlit night, look closely. The world is old and it keeps its secrets well. And sometimes it leaves a trail.